I'm not gonna lie, that was a tough start for the Cowboys in round two, at least at running back and wide receiver. Jaden Higgins went to the Texans, Quinshad Judkins to the Browns. It got pretty rough there for a minute. So when Dallas got on the clock, there were plenty of ways that they could have gone about this. Will Johnson was still on the board, Demetrius Knight Jr., the linebacker from South Carolina, Benjamin Morrison, a guy that I talked about a ton from Notre Dame, Jack Besh, RJ Harvey. Like there were some dudes still on the board, but they didn't land on any of those names. They went with Donovan Ezaraku, edge, Boston College. And once again, to no surprise, the Cowboys do what the Cowboys do in the draft. Last year, they went offensive line in round one, defensive end in round two. What did they do in 2025? They went offensive line in round one and defensive end in round two. And I'm going to be honest, going into the draft, I really didn't think edge was that much of a need for this team. It was actually one of the deeper position groups on this roster. I mean, they had Marshawn Nealon, Sam Williams is coming back from his injury. You can't always bet on that, but they spent a second round pick on him. They signed a couple of different guys. One name in particular was Dante Fowler Jr. I just didn't see it as a glaring issue like maybe some other spots on this team. But once again, I think they got a fantastic player. And we say every single time we get to the draft, year in and year out, don't draft for need, draft the best player available. That's the best way to draft because when you start needing a certain position, you start looking at players different, and that's where you get your reaches from. So I do believe that Dallas stayed true to their board, and Ezaraku was easily the best player left. You just look at the raw box score numbers for the Boston College edge, and they're insane. He played a total of 766 defensive snaps last year. 428 of those were pass rushing snaps, where he had 14 sacks, 20 quarterback hits, and 26 quarterback hurries. Definitely a major step forward in production from what we had saw from him in 2023. Those numbers right there, that is first round production. That is first round edge production. You just look at his effectiveness on a per snap basis, an 18.2% pass rush win rate and a 10.1% run stop rate. I mean, just unbelievable, really, to be sitting there at 44 with no glaring red flags. Unbelievable production, and it's backed up when you turn on the tape. Everything you see with those numbers matches up. He has an explosive first step. He has the ability to bend around the edge, get low and under offensive tackles. The bag of pass rush moves he has at his disposal is incredibly deep. It allows him to consistently win and get to the quarterback. Although they didn't really need an edge, in my opinion, just some of the stuff that this guy is putting on tape makes me extremely excited that this was the way they decided to go. He was out there at Boston College taking tackles lunch money over and over again on film. I'm super excited, and maybe my favorite part of the entire prospect profile, the entire player. This guy is 21 years old. Yes, 21. And he already has the pass rush bag to consistently win. And a lot of these guys that we see come into the league and we say, he's got to develop a pass rush plan. He's got to have a counter move. Not with Donovan Ezaraku. At 21 years old, he has all of the makings of a really, really good, great edge player that we're going to look back in 2 years and say, how did this guy make it here? And once again, we talked about this being a floor draft. And guess what's going to happen with Ezaraku? He's going to come in and compete right away in the defensive end rotation. Sam Williams, Marshawn Nealon, Dante Fowler. But now Dallas has pass rushers, and that's really because of Will McClay's history and just drafting for this team. We knew this pick was coming. They always take an edge. They've taken an edge in every single draft for the past decade. You look at guys that like Sam Williams, second round pick, Marshawn Nealon, second round pick last year. They spent a second round pick in back-to-back years on an edge rusher. The front office is not new to doing this, especially in the second round. Again, was it maybe the biggest need considering your biggest free agent signing in the past decade was a defensive end in Dante Fowler? Probably not, but also we ask them every single year to go BPA, BPA, BPA. And I can't really fault them when they do. This was easily the best player available, and I'm actually really excited. Yes, am I still a little bit concerned at running back and wide receiver? Sure. Until they prove to me that they have a plan outside of Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams and Jalen Tolbert, I will continue to worry about that, but it doesn't take away my excitement about them taking Donovan Ezaraku, who I think is going to be a phenomenal player. So at 44, they get their defensive end, and at 76, they add to their defense once again, this time with ECU cornerback Siobhan Revel. Honestly, this is the player that the Cowboys typically take in the second round. Revel is coming off an ACL injury he suffered in week 3 of the college season last year, and in reality, that's why Dallas got him at 76 overall. The ACL made him really slide down the board. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a major issue moving forward. It might hold him out of early team activities, but I did see a tweet that he expects to be ready for training camp in August, which is good news. But that injury caused him to fall in their laps in round 3. And I'm really surprised. This is what happens when you draft well. They didn't try to take Revel because they didn't think he was going to be there. They took their BPA at 44. They decided to stay patient, and they got a really good player in the second and third round at 2 premium positions on defense, and got some of the best value I've seen them get in quite some time on day 2. 2 different players that could have easily been in the conversation for early second round this year. We saw conversations about Ezaraku and Revel at the end of round 1. But let's quickly talk about Revel. I really liked what I saw on tape from him as well. First, let's just point out the raw athleticism. 6'2", 194 pounds, 32 and 5/8 inch arms. He can cover a ton of ground very quickly with his strides and his arm length. He can get in passing lanes, clog them up, bat it down, get his hands in the bread basket of the wide receiver and rip it away. The guy is tall and lanky, but it doesn't really hinder his movements like it typically does with taller corners. You look at the speed, although he didn't run a 40-yard dash because of that ACL injury, he has no problem staying stride for stride with wide receivers on film. If he does get beat, he has the recovery speed to catch up and still have a chance at making a play on the ball. He moves extremely well at that 6'3", can flip his hips and run. He's not perfect by any means as a boundary corner, but all of the traits are there. And I'm not saying that he's some sort of major project either. He's put the good things together over the past 2 years, but we just didn't get to see the full body of work in 2024 because of the injury. So it is more of a traits pick. Let's be honest, the competition at ECU isn't going to be that of playing for the Dallas Cowboys and facing A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, but he's big, he's physical, and uber competitive. Based on what I saw on film, Revel loves to play football. He's competitive, he's fiery. If he makes a play, he's gonna let the guy know that he did. He wants to help in run support. He'll stick his nose in there in the run game. He isn't afraid to get his jersey dirty, and he will come up and make a tackle. And I think that just kind of summarizes a very noticeable trend with this Cowboys class. High football character guys, leaders, players that want to compete, want to beat the guy across from them. Tyler Booker loves football. We saw that in his interview with Micah Parsons. Donovan Ezaraku, by all accounts, loves football. Turn on the tape with Sean Revell, loves football. We've heard nothing but positive things about these 3 guys, and they might come with their warts as players, things that they can improve on, but by all accounts, these guys are high football character guys, leaders. They want to be here. They want to be Cowboys, and they want to compete, which is something that Brian Schottenheimer is really going to stress with this team in 2025. But one more thing before we go, I want to look at the value that Dallas has gotten in this draft. Just based on the consensus big board, I'm not using anyone in particular, just NFL mock draft database. They compiled like 250 big boards, put them all together, and it gives us an idea of what the overall media landscape thought of these picks. Tyler Booker was the 28th player on the consensus big board, which could be considered a reach if you want to call it that. Some people had him much higher. Some people might have had him lower. But even then, Siobhan Ravel was the 42nd player on the consensus big board. Dallas got him at 76. And then Donovan Ezaraku was the 29th player. Dallas got him at 44. So something I was talking about last night was value, positional value. If I talked about it last night, I got to talk about it tonight because I thought Dallas did an extremely good job with it. At least 2 premium positions inside the top 100. They got a good edge player, a corner with excellent traits, and someone that they can develop and hopefully get some things from in 2025 because their cornerback room definitely needs it. Now, we wait and see what Dallas plans to do with their next 7 picks. Yes, 7 more players to talk about. And it's starting to get late. It's 1 a.m. here on the East Coast. We got a big day coming tomorrow. I got to get some rest. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow or today. Bye.